David Bailey is a professor of business economics at Birmingham Business School. Great to see you again, David. Look, Trump dangled something to help the car companies. Is this handbrake turn an acknowledgement that tariffs could actually undermine that goal of revitalising American industry?
Yes, I think it is. I think there's been a lot of complaints from Ford, Stellantis, General Motors, Tesla, to the White House saying, look, that 25% tariff is not only on cars, but also components. We import components from elsewhere. It's going to push up costs in the United States. So what Trump has said is, well, you've got a 2-year grace period whereby you can reclaim some of that extra tariff cost up to a certain value of the car. Also, remember as well, these tariffs are going to be hugely regressive in the United States. They will raise revenue, which will be used to tax cut for very well-off people, but the effect as well is to increase prices for ordinary people. So Trump needs to be seen to be doing something to try and keep the cost hit down for ordinary Americans.
So let's look a little bit at which auto companies who operate in America, what they're all doing. So Stellantis, for now, is shutting down an assembly plant in Canada, laying off about 1,000 workers in the United States. Oh, and that hits the revenue we just mentioned, and they've withdrawn that 2025 guidance. What's your take?
So they are not unusual in withdrawing the guidance. Mercedes-Benz has done the same thing. Yeah. Volkswagen has said that profits will be at the bottom end of guidance. Volvo just announced a big cut in profit. So this is, not unusual. And I think in the case of Stellantis, they're different in the sense they have big North American operations, so they're particularly affected. But also they don't have a CEO at the moment. Remember, Tavares packed things in not long ago. They're in the process of trying to find a new CEO. They've got a short list. They hope to do that by June. At the moment, they're being run by John Elkann, their chair, but they may need to speed things up in order to get a new strategic direction.
And in terms of what you make of Europe's reaction so far, I mean, look, we've seen, Jaguar Land Rover saying it's going to pause shipments to the US, BMW quietly raising the price of its 2 Series, Volkswagen floating that idea of making more cars in the US. What do you think?
So I think what happened was that the European and UK car firms really pushed as much stock as they could into the US to buy a bit of time. So in the case of Jaguar Land Rover, they've got probably 2 months of stock there, which they can sell. That gives them a bit of time about what to do next. Of course, if there's a trade deal, that could help them. But they're going to have to make decisions about whether they shift production to the United States in the case of BMW or Mercedes or Volkswagen, whether they look to increase prices, squeeze dealer margins, reduce production in Europe, but also whether they want to diversify and what are the markets they can target over time rather than the United States.
Well, you know what I'm going to ask next. How is China's auto sector placed to ride out this tariff storm?
Well, that's an interesting one because essentially Biden had squeezed China out of the US market anyway with 100% tariffs, even before the Hurricane Trump actually hit. So China essentially is not in the US market and they are busy kind of exporting all over the world. I think one of the interesting developments, particularly in Europe, is that Europe now needs to diversify its exports. It's looking to get closer to China. Those tariffs that Europe put in place on Chinese electric vehicles, I think, will be rethought. They may instead go for a kind of a minimum price. And I think one of the kind of inadvertent consequences of what Trump is doing is to really allow Europe and China to get closer together. So interestingly, and I think China is very, very well placed in all of this.
David Bailey in Birmingham Business School, thank you very much.